Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson.
And I'm Haley Dudley.
And welcome back to the Steven Universe Retrospectives. And today we're going to be discussing episodes 141 and 142 of Steven Universe, Pool Hopping and Letters to Lars. So let's talk about pool hopping first. And in this episode, Steven kind of starts things out by reflecting on all that's changed in Beach City since the recent rash of, abductions that the Gems have been pulling with all the humans. How Sadie has now joined the band. How the Big Donut seems to be closed. How Netafwa is now the new mayor. Basically, just noticing how the more things are the same, the more things are different. However, in relation to the Big Donut thing, it seems to be open again, much to Steven's own curiosity. And when he goes inside to see why it's been opened, it turns out that the Big Donut's got a new employee, namely Garnet. Yeah, it turns out that Garnet has taken to working at the Big Donut, which even confuses Steven. So when he manages to get up to the counter and asks Garnet why she's doing this, her answer is she wants to be random. And the reason why she wants to be random is because, well, her future vision specifically. You see, her future vision seems to not have been going the way she wants it to. Or more specifically, she's interested in looking at possibilities that she's never really considered. Like events that are so improbable that they're not even on her radar. And she believes that the best way to keep track of these events is to just do random shit. Do things that are so improbable that they'll be able to reach those unintended paths and they'll be able to see what lies beyond them, which intrigues Steven to no end. And to kind of give an example, Garnet ends up pouring a cup of coffee on the counter, showcasing how the splash stains are like all these different paths, and some little splash spots are where those other possibilities are. And so, likewise, just every little thing that they wouldn't do or are probably not going to do results in a completely new reality where they have no idea where things are going to happen, where even Garnet's future vision isn't even going to be helpful. And likewise, when they don't clean up the coffee stain, they're once again a new reality that they don't understand, because normally they would have cleaned it up. So Steven wants to see where this goes, and so he decides to join Garnet on her trip, with her immediately quitting the Big Donut, destroying her outfit. She's not getting the deposit back on that.
No.
And then, likewise, they go off and decide to just do random shit. And how they do random shit is, first, they order 20 pizzas from Fish Stew Pizza, get them to pick up by... Hold on. Sorry about that. Her mother was calling her away. Anyway, like I was saying, they are very much... Like I said, they had the pizzas delivered to Fish Stew Pizza, where they picked them up, and from there, they just start handing them out to random civilians in Beach City. Just one after the other. They just chuck one pizza at one person after another, until eventually all they have is one left, and so Steven decides, well, they give it to Vidalia, since by the time they have it, they're around her part of the neighborhood. As such, they do pop in on Vidalia's, and she's in the middle of trying to think of a new painting. And so, once again, in the spirit of being random, Garnet poses for the painting, with Steven deciding to join her. As such, Vidalia is able to create a sketch of Garnet and Steven in order to capture their essence, but as they're posing, Steven notices a stray kitten walk outside. And so he wants to follow the kitten, which Garnet is a little hesitant to do, especially when Steven asks what will happen if we follow that kitten, and she's clueless. So they just bolt out after Vidalia finishes her sketch, so she has to kind of work blind from there. But either way, Steven and Garnet continue trailing after this kitten as it eventually leads them to the forest, and they find that it has friends. Like, at least 4 other kittens that are all just kind of living in the wild without really any food. As such, when Steven sees them, he's like, oh no, they need help. So as such, he begins just kind of picking up kittens and decides, okay, we need to stop being random. We need to figure out what to do with these kittens. And he asks Garnet if she has any ideas, but Garnet's frozen up. And basically, when she looks at all the kittens, she just sees there's just so many possibilities, she can't really think of them. And Steven tries to say, well, why don't you focus on this one? As he holds up the one that led them there, this one cat with one eye, because the other one, I don't, it's clear lost it in some kind of altercation. But even then, she still freezes up. And then Garnet does kind of lay bare about what's going on with her future vision. It's because she's kind of lost trust in it, so to speak. Like going up...
Chuka hair!
Ew.
Sorry.
Anyway, like I said, mostly because the thing is, things have been happening recently that Garnet had never anticipated. Things that she never predicted. All those improbable possibilities that never even showed up on her future vision, they were the things that Steven did. About how he gave himself up to Homeworld and then made it back to Earth through Lion's Mane. Basically, she never anticipated that he would do something like that. And so her future vision has just been sent on the fritz, and basically it's just getting to her. Like, the pressure of not knowing what's gonna happen next, what could happen, is just getting to her so profusely, and it makes it so that she can't focus. She can't focus on anything. Even when someone tells her just try and zero in on this one little thing, she says she can't do it because the pressure is just too great, and she says, I'm sorry, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen to any of these cats. And so, it was just, as it rains, because it starts raining as she does this, Steven finally just kind of calms her down by saying, well, why don't we try stopping and focus on what could happen, and instead try focusing on what we want to happen and work towards that. So, what do you want to do now? And Garnet's response is, I want to help these kittens. So, Steven puts up a shield so that they don't have to be drenched on, and they take the kittens back to Vidalia's. From there, Steven is able to make a few calls, and so they are able to get the kittens somewhere where they can be kept safe. And as such, as Steven and Garnet are just kind of looking at the kittens, Garnet has a revelation. The reason why her future vision has been off and why so many things have been happening that she never predicted, it's because Steven's acting mature. She basically throughout this entire thing, she never anticipated that Steven would be making these mature decisions, because in her mind, Steven's still a kid. He's still young. He's still the same immature kid that wanted so desperately to be a part of the Crystal Gems that she hasn't stopped to look at the person he's grown into. And as a result of that, it makes her realize that and as a result of that, she's starting to realize, I need to actually start seeing that you don't have to rely on me as much. That you actually are mature, and basically and it helps her out. It actually improves her, and as a result, it allows her to kind of get her focus back. However, she does still want something small and vulnerable to take care of that can rely on her, and as such, she ends up adopting the kitten with the one eye, naming the kitten Steven. And then later, Cat Steven, because it'll be confusing if they have just two Stevens running around.
Of course.
And so, basically, Cat Steven joins the family, and the episode ends with Vidalia presenting Steven and Garnet with their finished painting, which is Garnet and Steven floating in the clouds with Steven as a naked cherub. So, that was one episode. But then you get to Letters to Lars, and it's exactly what what happens in this episode is exactly what it says in the tin. What's going on is that, once again, Lars and the Off-Colors are still floating through space, and they're still trying to repair their engines. They've gotten them to the point where they can fly around, but their hyperdrive is still malfunctioning, so they still need to get parts for it. However, as Lars is doing his captain's log, a letter ends up coming through his hair, and it's a letter from Steven to Lars, just essentially giving him an update on what's been happening in Beach City in his absence. And basically, it's meant to be a way of just kind of not only showing Lars what's been happening in Beach City, but also to kind of round everything up to the audience about what the new status quo is. It's like a clip show without clips.
It really is the essence of a filler episode, but in the best way possible, I would say. It is just, here's all the things that are happening right now. But it doesn't feel like it's just a list of, and then.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's wasted time, especially since every time that something is listed in Beach City, we actually see what's going on in that time. Like, for example, Steven laments how the Big Donut is closed, and likewise we get this scene where Ronaldo finally catches on that Lars is in space, because even though everyone told him he's in space, he didn't believe it, because Ronaldo is
You trust the government.
I told the government! The instant Ronaldo realized that wasn't a lie, he gets upset. Not because someone is trapped in space and has to deal with living out there on his own. No, Ronaldo is jealous! Ronaldo is jealous because he wants all the special stuff. It kind of reminds me of when Lars was jealous that Sadie was living the life he always wanted, but whereas that came from him genuinely realizing she's doing this to get back at me because I was such a shitty friend, Ronaldo is doing this because I'm the special one.
I really want Steven to grab him by his shoulders and go, Lars died!
Yeah, like that never came up in conversation, ever. But whatever. Yeah. But whatever, Ronaldo's jealous. In the meantime, we also see that Beach City has been kind of adapting to all the recent events with Gems, as they kind of have a pseudo city council on standby, wherein everyone meets at it meets at Fish Stew Pizza, and they organize potential strategies in case of an emergencies. Like they have fallout shelters in place. Everybody around the city can contribute food, donate food. If they have to stay there for a prolonged time, if there is an emergency, they have potential methods to warn people that something big is going on. With Pearl even showing off her brand new cell phone, which I love that. I love that she has no idea what to do with it, but she has it anyway. Most likely because the pink-haired girl from several episodes back wanted her number. So
probably.
So I like that. I do like that. So they have a strategy in place for that, and then likewise we get more of an update with Sadie Killer and the suspects as they're planning another show. Likewise, again, we see that Greg and Garnet have been playing tennis on the weekends, and Garnet does not let up for a second because she thinks that Greg being wealthy has made him soft, so she's there to toughen him up. And then likewise, it turns out Jamie has actually gotten an improv group in place, with the players of said improv group being Barb, Peridot, Amethyst, and who was the fourth person? There was a fourth person.
Mr. Smiley.
Mr. Smiley?
Yeah, Mr. Smiley, Amethyst, Peridot, Barb.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna assume it was Mr. Smiley. But either way, yeah, they're the improv players, so they're all basically they always just like do shows on the beach on that stage that Jamie used for the Mayor Dewey show that one time. And basically the only people that ever go to the show are Steven and Pearl, and so every time that the improv players want a prompt, Pearl always says, "Steven!" And they say, "We did Steven last week," and so even when Steven suggests something else, she says, "Then do Steven!" It's like, sorry, we're not accepting any more we're not accepting any more. However, and on top of that, the final thing is that Petey has now gotten his own food truck, which is repurposed from Mayor Dewey's old mayoral van. So, which he can't exactly drive because he's not old enough for that. But he does sell tater tots out of it, and Steven still wants the bits. So what can you do? However, throughout each and every one of these scenarios, there is a common thread between them beyond them being the things that Steven is telling Lars about, namely former Mayor Billy Dewey. As it turns out, he's kind of meandering a little. Yeah, ever since the Dewey Wins episode, apparently he hasn't really had luck in finding a new job. And so basically, he's just been kind of meandering around Beach City, attempting to insert himself into each of these different setups. Like, during the town meeting... Sorry, food adjusting. During the town meeting, he is there, but ultimately all he really does is just ask a single question to talk about how they can get the word out to everyone. And after that, he doesn't get any jobs assigned to him. He wants to be included with Sadie killing the suspects when they plan their show, but ultimately they don't appreciate his brand of spookiness, and since his brand is fun spooky, while they want legitimate scary spooky, he tries inserting himself in the tennis game, but ultimately it's too hardcore for him, and when he tries taking part in the improv group, it just feels slapped on, like he didn't really even belong there. And it's all really clenched together when Steven goes to meet with Petey to get his tater tot bits, and Petey talking about how he got the van, how it looks like City Council just couldn't wait to get rid of it. They practically gave it away. They didn't really want it, while Mayor Dewey is right behind it on the bench eating his tater tots, and he can hear every single word. And basically, it's just enough to get him to just walk away. And so Steven ends up chasing after him, and so Mayor Dewey does talk about how he realizes, yeah, Beach City is changing, but it's going to a point where he feels like he's not needed anymore. That everybody has moved on with their lives, but he's just an afterthought. And he even talks about how there are some bits of being a mayor that he does miss. And it isn't like the big stuff, it's just little stuff. Getting dressed in the morning, going out for a walk on the boardwalk, seeing everyone's smiling faces. He misses that, and he honestly... He just wants to belong, find a place. Like, he doesn't want to just feel like an afterthought. And he says that he misses having all that, just like everyone else misses having their morning donut. That with which Steven suddenly has an idea. And suddenly, former Mayor Dewey is now the one working at the donut shop in lieu of Sadie and Lars. And to even show off his new brand of power, he's renamed all the donuts to be named after him. Because he's kind of an egotist. But either way, there is one selfless thing he does. As it turns out, he and Steven have made a new donut that they called the, I think, Pink Lars?
The Pink Lars.
Yeah.
Pink donut with pink frosting and pink sprinkles.
Which Steven and Dewey present to Lars' parents. It's honestly some nice stuff. And after that, it cuts back to Lars in space as the letter finishes up, and it says, "I hope you come home. I hope you come home soon." And it turns out that Steven was there the whole time. He had his head just sticking out of Lars' head as he read the letter to him. To which even Lars says, "If you're going to read me this letter, Amy, why'd you even send it?" It's like, it's nice to be read to. It's like, and you do realize I don't know who half of these people are. I mean, who the hell is Peridot? Someone who can't wait for you to come home, I think.
Peridot does not know you exist, Lars. I'm sorry.
He's not even a blip on her radar.
Mm-mm.
But ultimately, while Lars is still a little about the whole thing, he does thank Steven for sending the letters and giving him an update. It's nice, and I dig it. So that's where that episode ends. So, thoughts on pool hopping?
Thoughts on pool hopping? I mentioned this earlier while we were watching the episode, and it stopped us from watching it very quickly. But we ranted a lot. Yeah. I feel like Garnet really is an embodiment of anxiety, like coping with anxiety through control. Whether that's controlling your environment, controlling your own thoughts, controlling your actions, whatever it is. She very obviously works to have as many things in hand as possible in order to give the best outcome as possible. Which is fair, especially when you look at where she's coming from and all that fun stuff with that information. Random thing, as you were talking here, I was thinking, I feel like that loss of feeling of control, like, with her future sight being so linked to her emotions as they are, I feel like it does kind of reflect in this episode a lot, where that loss of control is affecting her future sight. That loss of what is and is not certainty is making it so that she can't see anything, because even she has said herself that her future sight is very dependent on what she believes and perceives to be possible. If she cannot fathom the impossible, like if she's literally sitting there boggling her mind boggled with all of the possibilities that could happen from any given thing, it would make sense that, one, the state of overwhelm, but then two, that she wouldn't be able to pick anyone out of that, just, as a general. I appreciate how it was depicted as very much it felt like from my own messed up background, it felt very much like being on the verge of a panic attack and just like feeling completely overwhelmed and out of control, and just like, I'm gonna do this thing because maybe it'll change the mood. I'm gonna do this thing because maybe it'll change the mood, and just keep doing that from thing to thing to thing, because it was just enough in the moment to keep you from tipping over the edge, but it wasn't quite enough to make you step back a bit. Yeah. And I feel like at the end there, her having that moment with the cats and everything, and literally sitting with the just, I don't know, so overwhelmed, was kind of like her hitting the wall of, I can't run from the uncontrollable, overwhelming possibilities anymore. I just have to accept that they are a thing that exists and work with that. Which, oof!
Yeah.
If you's an anxious bitch, oof! Anyway.
Yeah. Going off of that, that's another thing I liked about the episode. For one thing, I like that it kind of expands on how Garnet's future vision typically operates. Because we already know how Garnet's future vision allows her to see multiple possibilities, multiple futures. And we've seen how that typically goes when it's employed by someone, as there were 2 episodes where Steven temporarily had the future vision, and we did see him just viewing all these different possibilities. However, what I kind of find interesting is the idea that what Garnet can perceive all really depends on what she believes is a possibility, which is something that I really find intriguing, especially on an emotional level. Because I think you mentioned how, because we already know that Garnet's future vision is the way it is because of Ruby and Sapphire's fusion. Mm-hmm. But to kind of add the even more emotional aspects to it, it also really depends on what she truly thinks is possible. Like, case in point, while she could see so many futures, like, she could have seen a future where that happened, or maybe a future where I do this. But ultimately, those are things that had to have happened. Like, she could say, that was a possibility. But then likewise, There could also be a future where you call me a fuckhead.
Yes.
But that's an improbable future, and if she didn't think that that could be a probable future, then she wouldn't see the course of events that led to that future. And so likewise, the idea that Steven could kind of break her future vision by doing things that she never expected, I find intriguing. And it helps showcase that ultimately, while her future vision is very versatile, it's also flawed. And it all depends on her. Like, the idea, because after all, she herself said that she never saw Steven doing all these mature things because she kept seeing him like a kid. She kept looking at him as this scared, vulnerable boy who could barely control his powers and always had to rely on her to get to be protected, to get the job done. And so, as a result, despite all the leaps and bounds she's made, which she is proud of, at the same time, the idea that she ultimately could not see these possibilities, it's helped showcase that there was kind of a limiter, like a subconscious limiter in there. And when she finally realizes, oh, I need to see who for what you are, that you're growing up. I like that. Mm-hmm. I do legitimately like that, as it showcases that, yeah, ultimately, there was nothing wrong with her future vision. It's just that her perception of it had to change. And I like that. I very much like that.
I would agree with that 100%. I also appreciate, because I don't know if this is before or after. My timeline is a little mixed up, so apologies if I spoil bits. But
whisper it in my ear.
The whole
oh, that's fine.
Okay. So, like, when we were talking about, like, the whole Here Comes a Thought moment and everything, where that song came and debuted, like, even in that song, it's very much about accepting shit and letting it pass through you and letting it go. Like, Garnet very much has this idea, and we have seen it all throughout the series, where it is very much like, just let it wash over you and wash right off. Just let it flow, man. And that is, like, led us to believe she's a very easygoing gem, and that she doesn't really have a lot of concerns and everything that are beyond, out of control.
Yeah.
But in reality, that is, I can't let it affect me. I have to be just so cool and chill about all of these things so that I can keep my eyes on the big prize, when that's not actually, like, that is the mentality, but that's not how it is really affecting. When you are sitting there focusing on the one specific thing that you know is a threat, especially when you have an expansive power like future vision, where you can look at something and see 1,000 possibilities of what could happen. If you are focused on that, is definitely a gem ship, they're not part of the diamonds, so they would never attack us. You're not going to necessarily see them turning around and attacking you because it's a gem ship. They wouldn't attack us.
Yeah. Actually, what I find interesting too is that there's also technically a precedent for this. Like, okay, you remember when Pearl kept rebuilding that tower? Mm-hmm. And Garnet said that she couldn't see any future where they captured Peridot.
Right.
Again, that would kind of relied on the tunnel vision because she kept relying on Peridot being there for all those things. But as a result, she didn't see the possibilities where Pearl would betray her because she never considered that as a possibility.
Right. Oh, okay, this does connect back to my whole, what we were talking, I had mentioned earlier with the circular thinking thing. The reason why she's failing every time is because she's going into a losing situation, a failing situation with the idea, I'm going to catch Peridot. Peridot's not even involved, and she hasn't looked past the, I'm going to catch Peridot, so she doesn't even see that she's not even in the game, and so she's just literally chasing her own tail around. You even see that with this episode, with the pool hopping episode. Yeah, it is far more innocuous in the sense that they are just going around doing random things, but she's literally so fixated on, if I can do the most random thing and do the right combination of weirdness, I can put myself outside the bounds of probability and better understand all of the weirdness happening around me.
Yeah, and which also leads me to the next part that I like about this episode. Namely, Garnet. And I don't mean that in the sense of her future vision. No, I mean Garnet as a character. Because this further feeds back into her character arc throughout the series. Namely, trying to keep it together. Because throughout the entire episode, you see her kind of struggling to, as you said, maintain control throughout this whole situation. Like, here's the thing. While the cause of her problem was psychosomatic, the results of the problem are devastating to her. Because the thing is, as we've established, Garnet has issues. And when it comes, and while for the most part she can keep herself focused and all in line and all together, so to speak. The thing is, she has a massive weight on her shoulders. Mm-hmm. She has to, she's the leader of the Crystal Gems. She's filling in the shoes of their former leader who she already looks up to and who all the Crystal Gems in one form or another deify. And then likewise, she has this a power and ability that allows her to see all these different possibilities, and she's supposed to use that to guide everyone down the right path. But the thing is, the thing is though, when she doesn't have all the answers, she tends to lose focus. She tends to be more impatient, and so the thing is, with the knowledge that her future vision is potentially not working for her, that it may be failing, it gets to her. It gets to her hard. Hence why she goes down all these random routes. Because she keeps thinking, I need to get it to work again. I need to get it to work again. Mm-hmm. And then likewise, even when she's put in a situation where it could work, she is still so clueless because the anxiousness that created the problem is still present, so that she can't even focus on what's already there. And it's really good character mm-hmm. stuff. It helps showcase mm-hmm. more of what she's going through as a character. What do you want to say?
A random thing that I just connected as you were talking, with that whole emotional bit of how, depiction in the episode given to us of how dependent everyone is on Garnet. When Steven's sitting there handing her the kittens, wow, they all are just so hungry. We're gonna need to take care of them. We should stop being random and figure out what to do. Garnet, can you use your future vision? Something he has known they've been doing all day trying to fix because it hasn't been working.
Well, to be fair, he didn't
do.
To be fair, he didn't know there was a problem till that moment.
Right. I mean, he might have not have known the extent.
Yeah, of she literally just said, "I'm interested in these possibilities that are so improbable that I can't see them." In his point of view, that's like her. She's just messing around to see what happens. But he had no idea that there was a problem until she finally told him.
Yeah, it's fair. That is fair. I will give him that. But it's still, it's literally, it is kittens. It is not something out of the realm of what a normal everyday person would be able to find information how to take care of a kitten, whether that is to find a foster home, find a local shelter, whatever. Google exists. We have established earlier in the episode, Pearl has a phone!
That's the second episode.
Oh, next episode. It is openly established in the next episode, Pearl has a phone. I'm sure at this point she probably has that same phone. It's not, let's check that. It's not, let's go, ask my dad if he can help us. It's, Garnet, can you look in the future and use your power to tell me what I should do to give the best outcome? That's a lot of pressure.
Exactly. And again, adding, in many other days, she probably could do it, though. But mm-hmm. again, it's the wrong place at the wrong time. And again, as in Steven's offense, he did not know that there was a major problem until Garnet finally mm-hmm. told him. But the thing is, going off of what Garnet is going through in her head, how she is already doubting her future vision, and how she has no idea what the future could hold because of all the things with Steven that she didn't predict. So now suddenly she's told, use your future vision to help them, and so she sees all these potential futures, and she can't zero in on any of them because mm-hmm. the pressure was already getting on her. Mm-hmm. She has no idea what to do, which is what I kind of like about which is ultimately what I like about the moral of the episode. That ultimately, you shouldn't be focusing on all these possibilities. You shouldn't be thinking about what could potentially happen or what dangerous thing could happen, which they established in an earlier episode when Garnet did actually tell Steven about her future vision. But mm-hmm. what I like here is that it's kind of now the reverse, as Steven is now telling Garnet, let's just try and focus on what we want to happen, which is a good thing. I'll get to in a minute because I know you have thoughts on that. But it is on its own. It is a legitimately good lesson, because ultimately no one knows what the future holds. We are all just as in the dark as Garnet is, and it's just likewise, for Garnet, being in the dark is tantamount to, well, it's bad. It's very bad. But ultimately, the advice that Steven gives her is a good way, and it helps, again, take the pressure off, and makes her realize she doesn't need to have those answers. She can actually just focus on what she just wants to happen. And thus through that, she then finds the problem with her vision, her perception of Steven. And thus when that pressure is off, she quickly realizes, okay, it isn't as bad as I think it is, and now I know what I want to happen. And from there, it allows her to feel better because the weight's been taken off. I like that because that's part of Garnet's character, is having all that pressure on her and having those moments where it gets too much because she has no idea what's going to happen next. So I dig that. I like that, and it's honestly a really good listen. But you have a good perspective on this.
I have a thought. Okay, so with the first time that we see Garnet showing, Garnet letting Steven know that she has future vision, Steven's reaction to that was very much not overwhelmed by the possibilities, but overwhelmed by the consequences of his actions. He was worried about, what if I pick wrong? And so I'm not going to pick at all. I'm going to stand here and wait for you to tell me what the right answer is. Whereas Garnet, I feel like she is having the different flavor of the same sort of problem. She is literally so overwhelmed by all of the possibilities and by the fact that you could choose the right one, but there might be a better one, and then there might be an even better one than that, or there might be something else happening that you don't know about, and so there are all these underlying things that could be. Whereas opposed to just picking wrong, you could pick right and you could still not know what happens. And there's more. It's coming back. I promise. It didn't run away too far. In that, with her future vision bits, when she's dealing with it, the overwhelmed bit, she's literally sitting there with all of those cats in her lives, which, what a beautiful way to depict having teeny tiny, not really big problems, like easy fix problems, looking at them and spiraling, because you can see all of the things outside of just the tiny immediate problem that could happen from it. Like that one of those kittens, it is just a teeny tiny kitten that you just need to take to a foster home or give it a warm meal and it'll be happy. But it could also have fleas, or it could have, bacteria issues. It could, just you bring it home and run away, and then you're sad because you bonded with it and it ran away. All of these things could happen, or it could be fine. And Garnet's sitting there staring and overwhelmed by all of those possibilities and having to be the one to come in and choose because they're all looking to her to give the best option, when realistically, even Garnet says there is no good or best or better option. There is just what works and what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is just, a really great insight of how Garnet must be dealing with it every day, day to day. And I did mention earlier, which I want to mention now, that there is a camera in front of us.
What?
The thing with Sapphire and Ruby, I do feel like with those two, with the way that they were created, because Sapphire and Ruby are very much, they're duty-bound gems. They were both gems created for a very specific subservient purpose. Ruby physically, she literally was meant to put her body on the line for more powerful, more valuable gems, while Starfire's entire
Sapphire.
Sapphire. Why Starfire? Wrong show. Sapphire.
That would be a fun show.
Sapphire's whole thing was her brain was for her diamond. Her powers, her abilities, her whole purpose was to look out for the better glory of her diamond. And so both of them have these two very protective purposes, natures built into them even before they got together and everything. And then when they are together and they now have not only the insight and intelligence and, as you had mentioned, patience, fault-worthiness, to be able to stop, pause, put together the plan, they also now have the muscle and endurance and durability to back that up.
Which, in fact, also makes, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but adding on to that, that also can help explain more why Garnet has her breakdown. Mm-hmm. Because, essentially, she should be a jack of all trades. Because Sapphire has the ability to plan and calculate out, but she doesn't really have the emotional intelligence to act on that. Ruby is definitely more emotional and much more quick to act, but ultimately she can't really plan anything beyond what's right in front of her. Mm-hmm. Put them together, they do even each other out, and it does work. Mm-hmm. But that's also what leads to Garnet's downfall, because she should know what to do. She has the tools to know what to do, But when she doesn't know, it gets to her, because normally she should.
To add on to that, it is very much like they're compensating for each other in so many different ways. They're covering up each other's weaknesses, supporting each other's strengths in so many ways, that where they both have a weak spot, which is in their self-sacrificing, I need to be the one who knows the most, be the protector, be the one standing between my friends and danger. When that part comes to the forefront and is triggered, both of them are triggered. Both of them are being targeted by that, and so both of them have a severe emotional response. There can't be one comforting the other and being strong for the other. They both just collapse.
Exactly. I dig that. Again, it's legitimately good stuff, and it's great for developing Garnet's character. I like seeing that. I like seeing her deal with this struggle, and then ultimately having the conclusion being just try and focus on what you want. It may not always work out, but if you work towards it, it's at least better than feeling like you have all that pressure on you. And as a result, Garnet does start kind of getting the pressure off, and then likewise she learns a secondary lesson, namely that Steven is growing up. That he isn't that same helpless kid that she knew from the beginning of the series. He's now becoming a much more mature person, and by taking that into consideration, she realizes, oh, that was my blind spot. I like that. I like that. But you also mentioned something about Steven.
Oh, yeah. Which one was about Steven?
About the advice.
Steven. Okay, yeah, no. Earlier when we were watching the episode, I drew the parallel. Spoiler bits for people who don't know this stuff. Steven, his advice is like
a coping mechanism.
Yeah, it is by itself.
Don't worry, that's not really. This isn't really much of a spoiler because it will get expanded on later. But
yes, super innocuous in the moment, in the sense of like we should just work to the future we want. Like yes, that is what you should do. You should not get caught up in the things that you can't control, and you should just kind of keep moving towards what you want. But there is a certain point where you have to be aware of the limitations of the physical world. You have to be aware of when you can't go no mo. And at a certain point, Steven doesn't know how to stop going no mo. He just keeps doing and working towards the future that he wants and keeps moving towards the ideal that he sees in front of him, because if he stops, then he has to acknowledge all of the terrible, awful shit that's still stuck around him.
Yep.
So, from Garnet's point of view, this is really inspiring, well thought out, mature advice from the kid. And it is. It really is.
It legitimately is, because it does help her.
But it is mature, good advice from a very traumatized child. Like, that.
Yeah. Again. I don't really consider that a spoiler, because there have been hints of what's been going on with Steven throughout the show.
I was going to expand in the future bit into the actual details, but I will leave that be, and you guys can enjoy that bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, on the whole though, pool hopping we do find to be a very enjoyable episode. There is some fun to see their random antics going around. I think one of my favorite scenes is when they're chucking pizzas at everybody.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah,
it led to some interesting possibilities they explore, and I do like kind of seeing Garnet once again going through all this stuff as she has to come to as we see the pressure getting to her. I like the emotional resolution with Steven telling her just focus on what you want to happen and work toward that, which I like, while also allowing her to realize okay, it's not the problem. There's no problem with future vision. It's my problem. It's a problem with my perception. I like that. And the ending is just kind of sweet, especially when they do adopt Cat Steven. So on the whole, we do think pool hopping is a legitimate episode. Yeah, very good episode. And then likewise, we have Letters to Lars. This one is, like you put it, I mean, it's a filler episode.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I feel like there's far less to talk about in this episode as far as, like, actual stuff that happens, because,
it's like laying breadcrumbs, so to speak.
It definitely keeps the story moving in the sense that you get to still see that stuff is happening, even though nothing's really happening.
Yeah.
But it's more about, I feel like the biggest come out of that episode is more of the fact that it shows Lars is still being thought of in town, and he is still, some bit connected to Beach City, and that's really sweet and all, because Lars pretty much is on his own in space, otherwise, with a bunch of non-humans. I had this conversation with Sam earlier. He has to explain to I know he doesn't have to eat anymore, but he has to explain what food is to them. He has to explain the digestive process.
You put the thing in your pie hole, and then it goes through your digestive system, and then you shit it out.
Yeah, and then you don't eat that.
No, you don't.
That's the important bit there.
No.
But that, and then the whole...
I don't even want to think about that, actually.
The former Mayor Dewey bit.
Oh, yeah, like that. Okay, I like that.
I appreciate him finding his spot in town and everything. I feel like that was more of, like, just a come-to-terms moment where, because his whole thing up to this point has been he just very much wanted recognition and be involved, and, like, he's been a shit mayor otherwise. Absolute shit mayor. It's true. But he just wants to be involved, and so finding out that, one, the job that he's loved, quote-unquote, because it gives him the recognition he wants, was not the job for him. Him losing that because he was not qualified and did not do a very good job was kind of a wake-up call for him, I guess, in a way. But then also, it gave that moment for him to switch from, I want to be a mayor, the one that everyone's looking to in crisis and problems, and I want to be the leader guy, into recognizing, no, I just want to be someone that people have a good time with.
Exactly.
I want to be the friend. I want to...
Yeah.
I just want to give people a smile.
Yeah.
That. I feel like that recognition bit was really nice. Like, it's okay not to do the bigger thing if the small thing is getting you what you want and what you need.
Exactly.
Like,
so otherwise, the episode itself was filler. It was entertaining filler because, like I said, it's like a clip show, but without any old clips. It's just essentially meant to be like an update on what's going on with everyone in Beach City, as we see how they're adapting to their new status quos, like seeing how, what I like is that we do see some legitimate, like, world building in Beach City in response to what's been going on with the gems, as now that all the gem stuff is becoming more of an everyday occurrence in Beach City citizens' lives, they're now working with the gems, like going to the town council, quote unquote, scene.
The gem preparedness.
We see Nanafwa, her granddaughters, and Greg, and Pearl, Mayor Dewey, and even Garnet and Steven, as they're just kind of coming up with potential plans to, like, prepare in case of emergencies.
Basically a tornado plan.
Yeah, they have shelters, they have food, they get the word out to people. I legitimately like that, and I like seeing it develop. Also, Pearl got a cell phone. Now, it may seem innocuous here, but it's important later. But my point is this. I like that we get some nice little bit... I like that we see some world building in that regard, and it's really nice, to see that. And we have more of that world building with the rest of the scenes. Like when we see Ronaldo finally realize that Lars is really in space, or when we see Sadie and the cool kids just preparing for their next show. It's just them just trying to figure everything out. And even the improv scene, again, it's showcasing what the new status quo is, and that people have been doing these new things, have been building new things for their lives, and we get some interesting, fun interactions with that, which leads to some good world building. It also leads to some legitimately good humor, because again, I love that Pearl at every improv show keeps saying the subject matter should be Steven every time. Like, even when Steven suggests something else, she's like, then do Steven! Like, that was legitimately funny. I liked when Mayor Dewey tried inserting himself into the stuff with Sadie and Sadie and Cocos. He came in wearing a bed sheet. It's like, and then I come in, oogity boogity.
I mean, even in the improv class, did I miss my cue? Now, oh, hey, guys! Like, it's improv, hun. There's no cues in improv.
Yeah. And then even the stuff with Petey, I like that. I like seeing that. But again, while the episode does well in doing more world building for the show and showcasing how things have been changing with all the recent developments we've been seeing, it's also a nice character piece for former Mayor Dewey, because I like that because that's kind of the thing when things change, because eventually there are people that feel like that they're left behind, and I can relate to that. There's been many times where I feel like that everything has been changing around me, whereas I'm just stuck in one spot. I know that feeling well. It's not a nice feeling, and they showcase it well with Dewey throughout the episode, because he's having trouble figuring out where exactly he fits into anything. And we see that throughout the whole thing. And yeah, it's treated kind of like a joke to a degree, but they do show the connecting threads between each scenario. He just wants to be included. When Sadie and Co were hosting were doing their next show, he just wanted to be part of it. When Greg and Garnet were playing tennis, he wanted to just play with them. When the city council was going on, he tried contributing ideas, but only really did one little thing that someone else could have potentially brought up. And then even at the end of the episode, when he tried doing the improv group, he came in right at the end and went against exactly what their prompt was. Again, he's just trying to find his place, and it's hard because he's so used to being in this one specific spot that he's having trouble getting out of that mindset, which it's sad, yes, but it also offers a way in character growth because ultimately there is another missing piece.
Well,
the Big Donut. Because after all, the key players in the Big Donut's function have all left. Lars is in space trying to make his way back home. Sadie went off to go form a band, and yet the Big Donut was once an integral part of people's lives. And as you said, he's now with Mayor Dewey can step back in and fill its spot, and like you said, he's in a position where he can actually see everyone and see them smiling, be a part of their lives, actually be an important part of their lives, because even he mentions everyone looks forward to their morning donut. It's nice. I like it.
I appreciated that too. That was a really good ending. I'm sorry. I was trying really hard not to interrupt you because I
get it. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I have a heart.
I sensed it and I wanted to get to the end before I went to you. Sorry.
You're good. So Mayor Dewey with the whole former Mayor Dewey now. When he was mayor, he got to have the acceptance thing. He got to have the inclusion bit, the being a part of the community bit, without actually ever having to do the work part of it, in the sense of like finding his niche, because he was the mayor. The mayor obviously belongs in the community.
Yeah.
And so he didn't have to worry about how he fit into things. He could, like the other people did. Like even Nana Fwa now, when she's mayor, she's literally still in the fish, like in fish pizza.
Fish stew pizza, yeah.
She's like still literally just working there, hanging out, still doing her job, and doing the mayor bit. Like that's Grimace Walker. She's literally still part of the family business while still doing the mayor bit. Even involved in the town more than Mayor Dewey was, because Mayor Dewey was just basically perma-campaigning because...
Yeah, like, he was always, like, anytime a big situation came up, he just told everyone all is well, and then if things got too hard to handle, he told everyone to run.
And so, like, I feel like he got into the mayor bit for the social acceptance, for the being part of the community.
Especially considering his family lineage in relation to Beach City.
And then that obviously wasn't his thing, which fair, totally fine. But then going into the Big Donut, which the Big Donut is an established community thing. Like, that, people love the Big Donut. But it is something that does need to have someone who literally just wants to be there, hang out with you, shoot shit, and, give you your donut, and give you your coffee, and smile, tell you have a nice day, and send you on your way. That is exactly what Dewey wants to do.
Exactly.
So let him do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a perfect fit for him.
110%. I love that he got to that.
And I just realized something. When Lars vanished, one of his mayoral promises was, "Don't worry, I'll get you a new donut boy." Well, guess what?
He did it.
Yeah, he found a new donut boy.
He fulfilled his final mayoral promise.
Yep.
Aww.
So
that's good.
Again, that's actually something. Again, I like that. Again, ultimately, we do kind of consider the episode a filler, just kind of giving us breadcrumbs to give us updates on everybody's situation in Beach City, while also doing some good world building. But we also like the stuff with Mayor Dewey throughout the episode, as he keeps trying to find a new place to belong, and by the end, he does manage to find that with working at the Big Donut, which, like you said, fulfills basically all the needs that he's been wanting, as he's now a part of everyone's lives, and he can send them off with a smile. It's nice stuff. I dig it. So
I eat up good filler episodes that have good side character development. Like, if you're gonna give me filler, at least give me some character development.
Yeah, give me good filler. So yeah, on the whole, pool hopping, really good. And Letters to Lars, very fun, very nice episode. Ultimately, again, just there to fill space, but it's a good fill of space. So yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. You have anything else to add?
No, I think that's it. I feel like Nana Fwa is going to low-key have the most happy dictatorship going on in the world, but I feel like that's just because she's Nana Fwa. And I would have a hard time saying no to her.
She will whip all of their butts.
I would have a hard time looking in her sweet face with her kind words.
I just love that idea of her just like she just like you say. I think I disagree with that, and then she just goes over to you. The Secret Service put like steps. She walks up to you and says, "Say that to my face." Her face is just unblinking.
I'm sorry, Nana.
And she just pats her head like, "That's okay."
No one's gonna be hurt. No one's gonna be traumatized. But we're all gonna do what Nana Fwa says is best.
Nah, it's true.
At least she's benevolent dictatorship. Yes. Anyway.
But yeah, otherwise, yeah, both are good episodes. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson.
And I'm Haley Dudley.
And I hope to see you next week as we actually get the rather grand reveal that's been building up to for a while.
Dun, dun, dun!
Or at least it would be if someone didn't spoil it!
I didn't spoil anything.
Yes, you did!
I am no spoiler.
Yes, you did! You dropped the spoiler!
Prove it!
I can pull up the video where you did it! It was the one where Stephen Connie formed into Stevani and Greg told about when he and Greg...
You're the one who's spoiling it now!
No! That's not a spoiler! That was an episode that you fucking spoiled!
Until one of your viewers points it out to me. Fuck, it didn't happen.
I will pull up the video!
That is biased information!
That's not biased!
It is coming from a biased source!
I did not edit the footage! I did not edit the footage!
Prove it!
I